All right, so welcome to tonight's presentation, Dream Big, Go Small, Finding Fit and Affordability at a Small Private Institution. This panel presentation is presented by Butler University, Wabash College, Franklin College, DePauw University, and Anderson University. So tonight's panelists include Lauren J., Admissions Counselor at DePauw University, Nee Paco Abrahams, Assistant Director of Undergraduate Admissions at Anderson University. Myself, Caitlin Ebbinghaus, Senior Assistant Director of Admissions at Wabash College. Whitney Ramsey, Assistant Director of Admission for Multicultural Recruitment at Butler University. And Hayden Skigalski, Assistant Director of Admissions at Franklin College. And kicking off our presentation will be DePauw University.
Awesome. Thank you, Caitlin, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Lauren J., and I'm the admissions representative from DePauw. So where is this quaint little university located? We are located in none other than Greencastle, Indiana, just about 45 to 50 minutes west of Indianapolis. Comprising our campus, we are just under 2,000 students. Because of those smaller numbers, we are able to have fewer students to faculty. So as you can see there, 8-to-1 student to faculty ratio. So a very personalized educational experience where you're going to get to know your peers, your faculty as well. Within the institution, we have a College of Liberal Arts and we have a School of Music. You can choose from, 49 majors or 56 minors. We actually don't make you declare your major until the spring of your sophomore year. So it gives you ample amount of time to figure out what exactly you want to do and what you want to study. Our campus is 100% residential, so we ask that you live on campus all 4 years. As a part of your DePauw experience as well, if any of you have given thought to wanting to study abroad, we are ranked #4 in the nation for the number of students who do go abroad. So you guys came to the right presentation if you're interested in that. Some outcomes to highlight: we are top 8 Fulbright producer, and then we are on the nationally ranked liberal arts university list, and we're number 47. So I'll go ahead and transition now to my colleague, Whitney.
Awesome. So as Caitlin mentioned, my name is Whitney Ramsey, and I am an Assistant Director of Admission at Butler University. Go Dogs. We are, first question we typically get is sort of remind me how many students are at Butler. And you can see we're just under about 5,000. So obviously the theme of our presentation is dream big, go small, right? And so it's weird for Butler to be kind of like the largest institution on the panel, but I think we are. We still maintain that small class size that Lauren was referring to. So you'll see our average class size is about 22, and that creates an 11-to-1 student to faculty ratio. So similar to DePauw, and I think a theme you'll hear throughout is that we're a great fit for students who really, again, want to get to know their professors, want their professors to get to know them. We are a liberal arts institution, but we do offer over 65 majors to choose from. We also are Division I athletics, which always prompts me to say we are a great fit for a student who wants kind of small in the classroom, but wants the rah-rah of kind of the big athletic scene, also a huge fine art scene. We are right in the heart of Indianapolis. We are about 12 minutes really from downtown Indianapolis, and have a robust study abroad and student club and organization scene as well. And small humble brag there at the bottom, we were recently ranked #1 regional university in the Midwest by US News and World Report. So good time to be a Bulldog. And with that, I will keep it moving.
All right, so I'm excited to tell you a little bit about Wabash College before we talk a little more generally about the liberal arts and how it can serve you as a student. Wabash is situated on about 65 acres, just northwest of Indianapolis, about 45 minutes in Crawfordsville, Indiana. So if you're not familiar with Crawfordsville, we're about 30 minutes south of West Lafayette, where Purdue University is located. Similarly to what Whitney and Lauren said, we have a small faculty to student to faculty ratio at Wabash. So again, you're going to get those intimate class sizes. You're going to get very discussion-based classes, so there is no back seat. If you're looking for a place that's interactive, where you can be a part of the discussion every class, you're going to find that at Wabash. We have a really excellent multicultural and international student presence on our campus. I think for 900 students, there might be a misperception that there's not the diversity that you're seeking, but Wabash certainly has it. We have 31 states and 19 countries represented within our smaller student body. Some things that if you're thinking about medical school or law school, Wabash should definitely be on your college search list with a 94% medical school acceptance rate and 88% law school acceptance rate. That's over twice the national average. So please take a look at Wabash if you're considering either one of those professional paths. We rank number 3 in the Midwest for highest earning alumni. So median career salary for a graduate mid-career is $139,100. So a lot of opportunity when it comes to earning potential at Wabash. Number 1 internships. I know experiences are really meaningful during your 4 years. So make sure as you're going throughout your college search, you're asking about those opportunities. Where can you intern? And how can you make those opportunities available to you? So with that, I'll turn it over to Nee to talk about Anderson.
Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Nee Abrahams. I'm the Assistant Director of Undergrad Admissions at Anderson. As you can probably tell, as has already been stated, there's a pretty common theme throughout this session. We have about 1,500 students on our campus, so small class size, average class size about 16 students with a student-faculty ratio about 11 or 12 to 1. We are located in Anderson, Indiana, which is about 30 to 40 minutes northeast of Indianapolis, about 20 minutes from Noblesville. So on one side you have a state park, and then on the other you have shopping, which is a nice, cool little in between there. One of the things I love about Anderson, and I think is one of the things that's unique to this particular panel, is we are a faith-based school. And I think that's a really unique opportunity to be here on this panel. One of the things I love talking about when we say that we're a Christian school, oftentimes people hear that and the first question they want to know is, like, how Christian do you have to be, right? As we're gonna like scan you and like 25%, so, and like kick you out. So I always like to frame it as this, we're a school, we don't require students to sign a statement of faith. So in one class, you may have someone who maybe he's never gone to church except for Easter and Christmas with grandma, and then someone else who's studying to be a pastor. And the unique thing about Anderson is both sets of people and everybody else in between can find a home. So the way I like to frame it is you don't have to believe to belong, but the degree to which you want to grow and explore and develop your faith at AU, you can do that. And there's a lot of different ways and opportunities that's expressed on campus. So that's a little bit about that. We have about 20 different Division III sports. So if you're someone who loves to play sports, but know you're not going to play at the D1 or D2 level, it's a great opportunity for you to come to be a student and to be an athlete and get a really, really great experience overall. A couple of our top majors, we have the #1 nursing program in the state for the past 2 years, according to registerednurse.org. And then our president was actually the former deputy director of the FBI, and his last name is Pistol, which is kind of crazy. And so our cybersecurity and national security programs are blowing up. So now I'm going to pass it on to Hayden with Franklin.
All right, so as Nee said, my name is Hayden Sigalski, and I'm the Assistant Director of Admissions at Franklin College. Franklin is just 20 miles south of Indianapolis, so it's kind of nice. We have a big city right in our backyard, but a very small town vibe. So Franklin is just under, right around 1,000 students, with the average class size being just about 15, and our student to faculty ratio is 11 to 1. We are most known for our biology, business, chemistry, and journalism programs, with exercise science and psychology coming up right behind those other 4. But we have over 50 majors that you can explore across 24 academic disciplines. So there's a lot of areas for students to explore as far as their academic passions, a lot of ways to triple or double major, and hopefully you can find that in our transformative liberal arts experience. 70% of our students live on campus, so similar to DePauw, we have a pretty big residential life with our students living in several of our residence halls, and then their senior year you can move off campus. A couple of our features for our liberal arts experience is that every student does an internship. We actually have up to 16 credit hours of internship credit available to students. So on average, students are doing 2 to 3 internships by the time they graduate, which creates a really robust and diversified resume. 99% of our students receive aid, some type of financial aid with their financial aid offer from us. So when you apply and you're admitted to Franklin, you can expect an academic merit scholarship. About 40% of our students identify as student athletes, so you can really find that holistic experience if you want to play at the D3 level, be a full-time student, study abroad, be involved on campus. You'll definitely get that at Franklin College. And lastly, I just want to mention that 98% of our graduates are employed or in graduate school within 8 months of graduation. And I think that definitely goes hand in hand with that internship opportunity that you'll find at Franklin College. And obviously that beautiful picture down in the corner is during the fall. So that's definitely a time I recommend to come and visit campus. So I'm going to pass it on so we can get started with some just general overview.
Awesome. Well, you guys, I'll get us started. We're going to talk about big opportunities in the liberal arts. And so I often get the question, why the liberal arts, Lauren? What exactly is it? And I think sometimes there's a misconception of, oh yeah, it's the liberal arts. It's just the study of liberalism. Okay, cool. Not quite, you guys. So when you come to a liberal arts institution, you're going to be taking classes not just within your designated major, but also in other elective courses. For example, you might be a bio major, but you're also going to be asked to take classes in English, in sociology, in theater. And that's going to create this very well-rounded education for you that will be very helpful when it comes time to going and applying for jobs or those internships or even that first interview for graduate school. So with the liberal arts, it takes this interdisciplinary approach. So you're going to be in classes, in seminar classes, with individuals who think differently from you, who might have a different perspective, but you're going to understand and learn to appreciate those perspectives. So when you finally get that first job and you're sitting around the table, you're feeling a little bit like, you imposter syndrome, but guess what? Your liberal arts background is going to allow you to contribute to the conversation and help make you stand out from other applicants who might not have that liberal arts background. So diving into those soft skills, what does that mean? And think about those critical thinking, analyzing information, public speaking, as well as being able to write really well. Those are all transferable from job to job. To kind of talk real quickly about my personal background, my degree, I have a Bachelor of Science in Biology, but you guys might be asking, why is Lauren in higher ed? What does that have to do with biology? Well, you guys, I did go to a small private liberal arts institution myself, but the soft skills that I developed while I was an undergrad have traveled with me through all of my career. So I was in healthcare prior to this, and now I'm in higher ed. And to this day, even as an adult, I'm still using and refining those skills. So if you guys want that life of choices, that is what you're going to get. Liberal arts is not building you for just one career. It's okay to change your mind. And for someone who's gone through it themselves, the value of a liberal arts, we're looking at her. So I would still be in healthcare today, but because of my liberal arts background, I was able to transition to another career with the skills that I developed. Looking at outcomes, 80% of employers agree that students need a strong liberal arts foundation. I believe there's a really nice podcast actually with Mark Cuban, and he talks about this. And in addition, 3 out of the 5 institutions with the highest earning alumni are also from liberal arts institutions. So again, thinking more long-term, thinking kind of in the future, knowing that your liberal arts background is going to have some financial security with it too, is also really reassuring. So that kind of gives you guys a little overview of why the liberal arts, but I'll go ahead and transition to my colleague who will kind of dive deeper into those outside opportunities beyond our campuses.
Thanks, Lauren. Great job talking about the liberal arts. So one of the other things that comes along with all of our institutions and a lot of other liberal arts institutions is the opportunity to travel. So we're going to take theory out of the classroom and we're going to apply it to these immersion trips and different ways to take what you're learning within your campuses out into the world. So there's a number of ways that you can study off campus at all of our institutions. And they look differently, but we'll talk about some of those opportunities and what those look like for you if you're considering the liberal arts. So some of the places that students get to go are places like Peru, Africa, Iceland, Vietnam, the UK. I mean, you name it, there are opportunities. I know Whitney on her slide about Butler mentioned there are 200 plus study abroad opportunities with Butler. At Wabash, we have a number of opportunities that have direct tuition exchange. So a semester off campus is the same cost as a semester on campus without any additional cost to you as a student. But there are different ways, as I mentioned, to study off campus. So let's talk about those a little bit. Study abroad, that is considered a full semester off campus. I know students who have done a study off campus in New York City, but a lot of times students want to study internationally. And so picking a country that might appeal to you, whether you want to go someplace and practice a second language, or you want to go someplace and be in an English-speaking country, but just be a part of the culture and get a new experience during your time in your undergraduate program. That's going to be a full semester. Again, that's called study abroad. Then you have other opportunities like immersion learning. And again, that looks differently with all of our institutions, but typically it's a 7 to 14-day trip. Maybe you take it over a Thanksgiving break or spring break or winter break. Maybe there's an extra term for it in January. But these are opportunities where you can take a shortened trip abroad or domestic to, again, apply the theory you've learned in the classroom into an immersive learning experience within a culture or place that allows you to apply that. Again, everyone does it differently, but at Wabash, immersion learning is free to students. So every student can do at least one immersion trip associated with a class on campus during their 4 years at Wabash. And if it's not free, a lot of our institutions do offer scholarships or grants so that you're not bound by financial circumstances. You don't have to ask your mom to start a GoFundMe on her Facebook page or sell chocolate bars. These are opportunities that students have once they're at an institution. And so again, if you're looking for this broad experience like Lauren talked about, and then being able to couple that with travel during your 4 years, I strongly recommend the liberal arts education for those opportunities. Because I have had conversations with people who have gone to larger institutions, and these opportunities, not only are they more competitive and less available, they oftentimes cost a lot of additional financial means in order to have those experiences. So something to consider during your college search, absolutely. Do any of my colleagues want to add to that at all before we move on?
I can add really quick just for Franklin. I should have mentioned this on our slide, but Franklin does have an immersive term, like Caitlin said, and we have faculty-led trips that go every year during that time. So if that's something that does kind of pique your interest, I definitely think a liberal arts education is going to culminate that travel, the class topic, and that immersive component is a really great step just to further your education and your resume.
All right, Hayden, take it over.
Okay, perfect. So obviously we've talked a little bit about study abroad and about the liberal arts, but let's talk about internships, fellowships, and athletics. All of our institutions have unique experiences that you can engage in throughout your 4 years. Just some of those internship opportunities are listed on the left. To highlight a couple, Cummins, Amazon, Google, Disney. As I mentioned specifically here, Franklin, all of our students do at least one internship, but all of our institutions are very big advocates for taking some time to do an internship where you can fully immerse yourself in your career and your passions. As far as those internships that the abroad experiences that we just talked about, you can actually go do an internship abroad as well, whether it be, in a different state or a different county. It could also be in a different country. We've had students pretty much go all over the world to explore their passions, whether it be wedding planning in Italy, a medical-based internship in Ghana, or teaching Spanish and English to students in Costa Rica. There's really something for everybody to take advantage of. A lot of our institutions are also very big advocates for undergraduate research, so actually being able to take that ownership on something you're passionate about and create research that you're proud and you can present on. A lot of our faculty are also going to be willing and able to help you, whether it's coming up with those ideas or just helping you kind of throughout the way as you develop your own research. As far as the support you'll receive, as I kind of just mentioned, our career services and our faculty all are going to be able to help you from step A to step B. I feel like I can say this for the group, pretty much from the time you come on campus until you walk across the stage and well after, our faculty are really like step by step with you. Also, as a couple of my colleagues mentioned, Fulbright scholars, Rhodes scholars, or fellowships, and there's a lot of other opportunities. So if you're really wanting to take your academic or professional career in another level, those fellowships are a really great opportunity for you. The last thing I want to cover is kind of the varsity, intramural, and club sports. Franklin College is specifically Division III, as I mentioned previously, but a lot of us have intramural sports that you don't necessarily have to compete during a season. You can just play for fun. There's also club sports on campus. Do any of my colleagues want to add about your specifics with different division sports?
Yeah, Wabash is also Division III athletics. We are a men's college and we have 12 varsity sports that students can participate in during their 4 years.
I'll also chime in. I think we all talk a lot about kind of what division we are, and we talk a lot about intramurals, but for me, like, I think club, as you mentioned, is kind of a great middle ground. And I don't think I really was familiar with club before I got into the college world. So if, again, Division I or Division III is kind of off the table, but you're looking for something a little bit more competitive, you still want to compete on behalf of the school you're attending, and against other schools. But again, not quite at the division level, right? Then club may be a great kind of middle of the road opportunity for you as well.
Great point, Whitney. I also wanted to point out with fellowships, there are other opportunities at each of our institutions for high impact experiential learning. Not internships, but like these additional programs similar to in fellowships while you're a student that can supplement your experiences as well and start building that resume. So explore those at your institutions that are on your college search list as well.
All right, guys. Hey, well, I want to talk a little bit about big funding, scholarships, and financial aid, because obviously when we talk about small, private, liberal arts schools, money is something that is obviously important to all family members and students to begin to navigate, what is college going to look like for me? How is it going to be affordable for me? And so you probably have had that thought. And so we wanted to make sure we had an opportunity to talk a little bit about that. So if you guys look on the slide, there's a little quote from a movie that I love, The Cinderella Story with Hilary Duff. And I think, and I want to preface, I know it's kind of a funny quote and a kind of funny movie, but I want to preface the conversation we're about to have with this quote. And I love it. It says, "Don't let the fear of striking out keep you from playing the game." And the reason why it's important to kind of set the tone, because all of us as admissions counselors, as we've gone to different college fairs and high school visits and spoken with families, so many times we've all heard this idea that there's just no way I'm going to be able to afford this, so there's no point in me trying, right? And we want to stop right there and tell you that don't let the fear of striking out keep you from playing the game, right? Like, part of our job is to walk with you through this process to give you opportunities to see what sorts of scholarship and aid is available to you. What we've seen over and over again with our students is that it can actually be extremely affordable for families and students to take part in a liberal private education. And we think that's an awesome opportunity. So things like, for instance, personalized financial assistance and guidance, right? Like, if there's ever a common thread throughout everything we've talked about today, is the opportunity for you to get developed and personalized attention from the time you start this process till the time you graduate and beyond. And that also includes financial aid and assistance, right? So anytime you have any question, you're going to have people, whether it's us or financial aid counselors, all of us have financial aid departments, so we will work with you one-on-one to make sure that you're getting the necessary guidance you need. So whether you are a first-gen college student and neither of your parents or family members went to a college or university, or someone who maybe like me, both of my parents were at university, no matter where you're on the journey, there are people that are here to help you. And I think that's a really important thing because as we get to know you more, we get to know more of your situation and find needs specific to you. And I think that's really important. One of the important things that I like to talk about is our merit scholarships. So the big quote, or excuse me, the big statistics right in the middle said 100% of our students receive some type of scholarship or aid to attend these institutions. It's actually probably about 97, 98% with all 5 of us here. But the vast majority of all of the students that attend the 5 institutions that are represented here are going to receive some type of scholarship or aid. And that's a huge number, right? So we want you to know that you're not alone in this, that there's money available for you. And these merit scholarships are scholarships based off of typically a GPA or a GPA and SAT or ACT combo. But whatever that looks like for you, there's merit availability one of the things I really appreciate about a small private liberal arts school is the opportunity for you to have additional funding, right? So there is a student worker that works in our office. He's a strong student, was looking at a large state school, and just because there were so many other students that were competing for the same top academic scholarship, he didn't even get close to the type of money that he was able to get at Anderson for being a strong student. So if you're a strong student, know that your money and your experience and your things and your dedication to your craft and school definitely can sometimes go farther in terms of scholarship opportunities. And that's exactly that point: greater funding opportunity for other scholarships and different things like that. And then on the other side of things, which I think is really important, which we're also going to talk about right after this, is the opportunity for you to have increased learning potential post-graduation, right? Continue to work with alumni and different things like that. And so I'm going to pass it off because this is a perfect transition with Whitney to talk more about alumni and life after.
Awesome. So I have the big task of kind of bringing this all together, right? So we're going to talk about outcomes and the idea of being, as it says there, engaged, fulfilled, and connected. That's kind of ultimately what this is all leading to. You've heard us talk a lot about placement rates. Placement rate, again, is a phrase or a term that I was kind of unfamiliar with as I started heading through. Typically, if you're like me, what you're thinking right now is sort of like a, let me just get through high school, right? Let me get into college. That's what's on your mind right now. And so it's easy to lose sight of that next step, right? We're thinking about what happens to you after college and the idea that college is a stepping stone towards your ultimate goal, right? So that's why we talk so much about placement rates, is because, again, while you're working towards having a meaningful high school experience, making your way through the application and financial aid processes, we're thinking about how we can set you up to then achieve your ultimate goal after you graduate. But placement rate is not an event, right? It's a process. And so that's where all of these things come together. So we want you to be that liberal arts student, right? Good critical thinker, good problem solver, good public speaker, because as Lauren shared, that's what employers and graduate schools are looking for. We want you to have your major, yes, and be the subject matter expert in your major, but we also want you to be that well-rounded student. And then we want you to round that out with experiential learning. So whether that is the internships that we've talked so much about, or the research opportunities that students also have early access to, often access to. I think that's kind of another theme, right? Early and often is how these opportunities come. Those are all driving you towards that placement rate and being a competitive candidate for when you're ready to take that next step. Again, whether that's into the workforce or into internships. Another way that that kind of contributes to is when you think about not only early and often opportunities, but because a lot of our classes are so small, our professors are really instrumental in making those helping you make, I should say, those internships and research opportunities meaningful, right? They're well networked. They know you. They know what you're interested in. Yes, we have a huge career and professional success office on Butler's campus, but the first line of defense is generally professors, because again, they've gotten into deeper conversations with you and want to help you get to kind of whatever that next goal is. And ultimately, right, your outcomes too that you're thinking about, first and foremost, a degree, a solid education. But as Lauren referenced, having that kind of financial stability, that financial certainty is not too shabby, right? And in addition to the finances, and if I could leave you with one point, I truly think this is it, and it sounds sort of cliche, but all institutions, right, ultimately their goal is to set you up with a degree, with an education. But we want to set you up with a meaningful life, a life of transferable skills, a life that is intentional, that you've chosen, and you have explored and landed on something that leaves you fulfilled, that's meaningful to you. So as you see there, big opportunities, big world, big experiences, that's what results in the big outcomes. And with that, I know, trust me, I've been meeting with these folks several times. We could all go on and on and on. But that brings us to kind of the formal end of our presentation. I know we've got some attendees here. I don't know if we can go ahead and open it up to questions. So if you have a question, feel free to drop it in the chat, and we would be happy to answer it. Or if you just want to say hi, feel free to do that too. All right, first question, woo! Okay, so the question is, how hard is it to start in sports programs? So talking about kind of becoming a student athlete and what that process looks like. I think it looks a little bit different probably from a Division I and a Division III standpoint. I'm happy to talk about it from Butler's standpoint as a Division I school. The coaches are responsible for all of their own recruiting, all of their own scholarshiping. And so that's a process that lives completely in athletics. What you do typically at Butler is you fill out what we call a prospect questionnaire. It sends your athlete specific information straight to the coaches. And that lets them know that you're interested so that they can then, you know, kind of look a little bit further and open that recruiting relationship. So how hard it is, that's a tough question to answer in terms of hardness, right? It just depends on kind of what level you're ready to compete, or at which level you're ready to compete. So that's kind of at the Division I level. If someone wants to kind of chime in, or if you each want to share what that looks like at your institution.
Well, I'll share a little bit just for a second on kind of Division III, and Hayden and Lauren, anyone else will kind of add to that. But usually, typically at a Division I level, because it's such a large division in terms of just the competitiveness, oftentimes coaches are recruiting 2-3 years ahead. So if you're not on a lot of coaches' radar by junior, senior year, not saying that there's no way you can play by any means. That is not what I'm saying at all, but it is a little bit harder because the gates can sometimes be closed. At a Division III school, there's usually more opportunity for students to play, just from the perspective of students who may not get recruited as much, or maybe, you know, they go to a smaller school or different things like that. So I know at Anderson, similar to the prospect questionnaire, we have an athletic recruitment form, right, that you can fill out, have coaches be reach out to you, let you be interested in. You know, on our visits, if you're wanting to speak with a coach, we make it possible for you to reach out and have conversations with coaches while you're on our visit. And so it really just depends on the program, and it really just depends on the sport, really, and how the school works in terms of where the program at the university is at, depending on the year.
Yeah, I can say similar to me, Franklin is pretty similar. I know when you come to campus or when you meet with a coach, all coaches definitely want to meet with each athlete that's interested in playing, and then kind of give them a fair shot at like, hey, what do your skills look like? And kind of address it and assess it from there. I think it also depends on the sport. For sports or athletic teams that recruit larger groups, I think it might be a little bit harder to start right away than in some of the smaller athletic teams.
I want to add one last thing about Division III athletics, and kind of the expectation is that while it's not Division I, it is still collegiate athletics, and it is very competitive. I often find that at my institution, the guys are, you know, they're all conference, they're all state in their sport, and then they come to Wabash, and I think that they're expecting that they're still the top dog, and that just will not be the case. So I want to set that expectation that you are playing at a very high competitive level still. So expect to come in and work hard for a position, you know, just like you did as a freshman in high school.
Awesome. We've got another question. Did you study in a different country? If we want to kind of go down the line. I'll start, I guess, since my mic's already off. I did study abroad, actually not once, but twice. That made sense for me because I was also a Spanish major. And so I was just desperate to be in a place where I could immerse myself in the language. So I spent a full semester in Granada, southern Spain. And then I also spent some of us will have kind of a May term or a January in Juarez, Mexico. So I personally did twice, loved it, wouldn't change it.
I'll go next. Similar to Whitney, I was also a Spanish major, so I was pretty much dying to get out of the country any chance I could get. And so I spent part of my summer in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and then the other part of my summer in Spain. And then I did one of our immersive terms in Costa Rica, and it was significantly more fun to be on the beach learning Spanish than it was to be back here where we had like 3 feet of snow that year. So definitely recommend it.
I did not study abroad. I was a winter athlete, and so my sport was both in the fall term and in the spring term. So I was lucky if I even got to go on a spring break trip. And at the time, because I'm so old, we did not have shorter term study abroad options like are available now. So I was not fortunate enough to do that. I did get to go to Vegas for a basketball tournament, though. It's kind of like a different country, right?
Arguably more exotic.
I didn't get to either. The school that I was accepted to go to in Belgium, apparently it never happened before, but it was an exchange program. And the school, in the first time, had decided not to send anybody out, so I couldn't come in. So I was just kind of stuck in the States. I'm still salty about it, but that's fine.
Any other questions? Can be about our respective institutions, about kind of the small private liberal arts vibe in general. Can be personal questions like, did we study in a different country?
You're also welcome to ask about institutional specific questions as well. It doesn't have to be generalized. We're happy to answer those.
So what does it take to get into a liberal arts college is the question that came up.
Sure, I don't mind stepping in. You guys haven't talked in a moment, so I know you guys miss my voice, so I'll go ahead and answer this. So a lot of our institutions, they do what's called a holistic review. So we're not just seeing, okay, what are your exact numbers? And then, okay, yep, admit, deny. No, we look at everything. So from a liberal arts perspective, we're not just going to look at your academic transcript. We're also going to look at your courses of study. Did you coast to the finish line your senior year, or did you challenge yourself with honors and AP courses, IB courses? We're going to look at your test scores if you submit them. I know for DePauw, we are test optional. I believe my colleagues on the call are also test optional as well. So should you decide to submit your test scores, awesome. If you don't feel proud of them, if they're not a good representation of you, then don't submit them. We don't need them to consider you for admission or for scholarships. We'll look at letters of recommendation. So I always like to say, spice it up, not just one teacher or a college counselor. Have someone talk from all different angles to you so we can learn more about you as a person, not just you as a student or maybe you as an athlete, or I don't know, if you're involved in church or some sort of extracurricular activity. But then lastly, affinity. That's a huge one. So as you guys are going through the process right now, Affinity is big. A lot of us are on the Common App. We are free to apply to, and we sometimes don't have supplemental essays or applications. For you guys to build a relationship with us can really help make yourself stand out from other applicants. So we'll take into account demonstrated interest or affinity. So we're keeping track. Hey, did you guys visit campus? Are you guys attending our virtual visits or in-person visits if we ever get back to those types of things. So we look at everything. That's what it takes to get into a liberal arts school. But first and foremost, connect with us at the college level, get to know us so we can get to know you. And when it comes time to those big decisions, we can actively advocate on your behalf.
Skipping around to kind of go along with that, and I will come back to some of the questions here, but does anybody have specific requirements? I think we're all holistic. So again, it's going to be taking everything into consideration. Another question, what are the vibes of the schools? I got to think about that one.
I mean, I think you're going to find that all of our schools have different vibes. And that's why it's really important that if you have the opportunity to visit a campus, that you do that, because you're going to find that each of our campuses or any of the schools that are on your college search list, they're going to have different vibes. They're going to have different cultures, different traditions that make them unique. Because you did see some common themes today, you know, the small class sizes, big opportunities, travel. And we wanted to convey the similarities, but you're also going to find a lot of differences. And again, I think that's really displayed in that on-campus experience. All of our schools are offering some sort of in-person experience right now. So if you can get out there and visit some campuses, I got a really good piece of advice from one of our students recently that said, whatever school you start comparing every other school to in your college search process, that's probably the right fit for you. You're really going to feel it in your gut. You're going to know that these are your people and that that's where you belong.
Franklin's vibe is very much like the football players are at the theater productions and the theater students are at the football games. Like very cohesive, good vibe kind of community. It's really small, so somebody is definitely going to be in something that you're not.
We've got another question. What kind of creative writing classes do you have? I can kick this off. At Butler, we actually have an entire major for creative writing. It was a minor, but it gained so much traction that it's now a major. And we have a really cool, it's actually an old house on campus called the Ephraimson Creative Writing Center. And it is dedicated to creative writers. And we often have a resident author who's sharing the space with our students. So that is where we sit with creative writing at Butler. And I think that may be the end of our session. So before we get cut off.
Hey, y'all, you were fantastic. You really did a really great job. For those of you who attended, just a couple of reminders. You will get a survey at the end of this. We'd recommend that you complete it. It's only 4 questions. And there are so many more of these presentations throughout the next couple weeks. So be sure to log on to InACAC.org. and check them out. Thanks so much for attending. Take care, y'all.
Thank you, guys.